Is that in your mind?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about that. Describe for the jury what you were doing earlier that night. When did you first meet up with the defendant? What were your plans?
We were having a study session at Klein Library on NAU's campus. And after that, one of our other pledge brothers, Hunter Todd, asked us if we wanted to join him to go to a friend's apartment at the Grove. And we went with him, and yeah.
Okay, let me chop that up a little bit. You mentioned Hunter Todd. He was one of your pledge brothers?
Yes.
Okay, so was he also a freshman at the time?
Yes.
And you and the defendant were also part of this group?
Yes.
Who else was there?
At the library, or
well, let's talk about going to that party at the Grove. Who was with you?
Hunter, Shay, me, and Steven.
All right, the four of you.
Yeah.
And that's Shay McConnell?
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get to the Grove? Let's start there.
Steven drove us to Mountain View parking lot, and we walked.
Okay. And Mountain View parking lot is on campus, correct?
Yes.
This is right in front of Mountain View Hall?
Yes.
And where is the Grove in relation to that?
Down the street, maybe a few miles, or 2.
2 miles?
I can't say for sure, but down the street, quite a ways.
Okay. And what my point is why did you park there and walk?
Well, to have a car on campus, there's pretty strict rules on where you can park, and you can get pretty hefty tickets if you park in a wrong spot.
Is the Grove part of campus?
Yes.
It's on campus?
I actually don't know the rules, but I'm pretty sure that was the reason.
All right. At any rate, you guys parked on Mountain View dorm in that parking lot, and then you walked to the Grove. Is that right?
Yes.
And what street do you have to take to get to the Grove, or what did you take?
I think it's East Franklin.
All right. And so you, I'm sorry?
I think that's right.
Okay. Sorry, just trailed off a little bit. So it was you, Shay McConnell, the defendant, and Hunter Todd, the four of you who arrived in that parking lot and then walked up Franklin?
Yes.
All right. And what time of night was this, approximately?
It was late. I can't tell you exactly, but I don't know exactly. Around 12, maybe.
Midnight?
Midnight.
Okay. And when you get to the Grove, what did you do when you got there?
It was social gathering. There was I think they were playing Guitar Hero.
All right. These were other college kids?
Yeah, there was some other people there.
People from your fraternity?
No.
Was there drinking?
Yes.
And did you have any drinks that night?
I didn't.
Was there any marijuana?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did you notice if your friends, Hunter, Shay, or the defendant had any alcohol at that point?
Not that I can remember. I got a phone call while I was there from my girlfriend, and I actually took it outside, so I wasn't present at the place for too long.
Okay. How long were you there at the Grove?
I can't say. Not too long.
Could you give an estimate?
A couple hours.
Okay. And at some point, it sounds like you guys decided to leave?
Yeah.
And was there a reason?
No. I was outside taking the phone call, and someone came and got me and said they were leaving, and I joined them.
All right. And so was it the four of you that left together? You, Hunter, Shay, and the defendant?
Yes.
And did you go back the same way you had come on Franklin Avenue?
Yes.
And were you all walking together the entire time?
Not the entire time.
What happened?
Hunter Todd, when we got to an apartment, another one, closer to Mountain View Hall, he, I'm not actually sure when he decided to go in this complex, but I think I was talking to someone else, but he decided to go in, and then it was just the three of us.
Okay. A housing complex across the street?
Yes.
From Mountain View?
Yes.
All right. So Hunter went into that area. Is that your understanding?
Yes,
Did you see him go in there?
I did not.
Why did you think he had gone in there?
I think Shay told me that because I was talking. I'm pretty sure I was talking to Steven while we were walking about, I don't know. I was just conversating, and I don't know why. I can't remember, but I don't
all right.
remember him leaving.
Okay. At any rate, you believe that he had gone in there, and did you guys wait for him?
Yes, we waited for him outside of that complex for a bit.
Outside of the courtyard?
Yeah,
All right. And where did you wait for him?
just in front on the sidewalk.
Is this on
Yes.
Franklin Avenue, running across
Yes.
Franklin? Okay. At any point, did you go inside a house or a unit?
No,
At any point, did you guys go into the courtyard area inside between those buildings?
no, we didn't.
Did you see if the defendant or Shay McConnell did?
No. Well, I did see, and they didn't.
Okay. You guys were together the entire time.
Yeah.
At some point, did you decide, or did somebody decide to knock on a door looking for Hunter?
Yeah.
Describe that.
It was my understanding, well, there's a apartment there that's owned, the owners that live there were members of Sigma Chi, and I knew that. But I didn't know which door it was, and the one I thought it was actually not. It was the other house.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
I think so. Well, let's break it down. So you knocked on a door you thought was a Sigma Chi house,
Yeah,
and it wasn't a Sigma Chi house?
wasn't.
All right. When you did you knock on the door or ring a doorbell?
I don't remember. Knock, door, ring. I don't.
Okay. How did you find out that it wasn't the right door?
I didn't until later
Okay.
when this happened.
All right. Well, let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
What happened after you knocked on the door or rang the doorbell?
Well, we waited for a little bit, and we started to cross the street, and
We being
the three of us, Shay, me, and Steven, and we were crossing the street when a group of people showed up behind us
do you know where they came from?
from behind the courtyard.
All right. So from the inside between those buildings? Or
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
I'm pretty sure it was from the actual courtyard, because I don't think anyone came out of the front door.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to find out. So you didn't see anybody coming out of a door,
No.
but you know they were coming from behind you
Yes.
as you were walking across Franklin.
Yes.
Okay. And you said a group of people. How many people do you think?
I can't say for sure, but 5 to 7 maybe, a group.
Okay. Did you know these people?
No.
Did you recognize them from anywhere?
No.
And did they interact with you at that point?
Well, at first we didn't know what was going on. We kind of engaged them, I guess. We were like, hey, what's going on? And they didn't seem to like, no.
They didn't seem what?
They didn't seem to, I don't know, actually. It was just, they were walking up to us, and we said, hey, and then one of them punched Steven, and that was when we were like, okay, this is serious.
All right, so let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
What caught your attention about this group? How did you know they were behind you?
Well, there was a lot of them, and they were making noise.
Okay. Do you recall what was being said? Or?
No.
All right. And so you turned around at
Yeah.
that point? And are
Yeah.
you still in the street?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see if the defendant and Shay McConnell turned around at that point?
I'm pretty sure we all did.
All right.
All
And
three of
then
us.
you indicated earlier that you or somebody in your group said, hey, to this group.
Yeah.
And right after that, you're saying the defendant got punched.
Yes.
So there was no interaction between you, your group, and this other group in the street
No.
before that? All right. What happened after the defendant was punched?
We realized that they were hostile for some reason, and we backed across the street into the sidewalk of Mountain View, and we retreated that way, I guess you could say.
Do you recall who this person was that punched the defendant?
No.
You didn't see him?
No.
How do you know he was punched?
Because I didn't know who it was that got punched at first, but I did see someone get punched. I don't recall what he looked like. It was dark.
Well, let me just clarify. You saw the defendant get punched,
Yes.
but you don't recall who that person was that punched the defendant?
Yes.
Do you recall if he was short, tall, ethnicity, anything like that?
No.
All right. Did you see where he came from?
What do you mean?
I mean, was he part of this initial group? Or did you
Yes.
see if he came from behind or from a side?
No, he was out front.
Okay. Now, you said you guys retreated toward Mountain View, is that right?
Yeah, across the street.
And describe where you went.
There's a gate that leads toward a parking lot and this kind of cement-like pathway in front of Mountain View, and that's where we went.
Now, do you recall, you've been interviewed a couple times as part of this case, right?
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that these guys confronted you and then there was a punch. Do you recall telling a police officer earlier that they appeared friendly at first?
Yes.
Is that what your recollection is today?
What I meant by that is we didn't have any, inclination that they were hostile to begin with until the first punch.
Got it. And you say hostile, was anyone carrying a weapon?
No, not that I know of.
Did you hear anybody say we're going to kill you or kill somebody?
No.
Did you hear any words at all at that point?
No.
Did you have any direct interaction with anybody in that group?
Yes.
Describe that.
Once we got further into near the parking lot on that sidewalk area, we were trying to figure out why they were doing this, so we were just saying, we don't want any problems, what's going on, and they were asking, what are you guys, where are you from, what are you doing? It was all just questions, very basic.
Okay. And you say they were, was everybody asking those same questions, or was there someone specific?
It was just yelling, just oh, what's going on, jargon, I don't know.
All right. And you mentioned earlier that there was a group, I can't recall, was it 5 to 7, 6 to 8? What did you say the number of people were?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. And was it that same group that kind of followed you into that Mountain View area?
Yes.
Was it all in a cluster, a group of people?
It was initially, yes. And once we got onto that cement sidewalk area, it thinned out.
And what do you mean by thinned out?
Well, we kind of spread out. We got pushed on the ground initially, both me and Shay, once we got into that sidewalk area, and Shay went one way and I went straight adjacent to Mountain View.
Along that sidewalk?
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
And he went towards I don't know, actually, a different way. But after that, a few people followed me further in, and I lost track of Shay.
Okay.
And that's when it got, I don't know, thinned out.
Thinned out. So if I understand you correctly, it wasn't a cluster or a group any longer. People were scattered across that sidewalk area?
Yes.
At that point? Was it the same amount of people, so 5 to 7, but just scattered along that area?
Yes.
Did you see before that where the defendant was? See where Shay was?
No, but I had stopped there eventually, and I was actually looking for Shay at that point.
Stopped where?
Once I got pretty into that sidewalk area, almost to the end of the parking lot, I stopped there and was looking for Shay.
I see. Okay, but before that, you didn't know where Shay was?
The last I saw, he got pushed near the parking lot and lost track of him there.
All right, near the parking lot, where, on that sidewalk?
Closer to the gate by the street.
By Franklin Avenue?
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned earlier that you were pushed as well. Where did that happen?
Similarly, closer to the gate, but farther than Shay.
All right. Aside from the punch that you saw being thrown at the defendant and the push to Shay and the push to you, any other physical confrontation or interaction?
There was swinging punches, but other than that, and someone knocked my hat off, and that was it.
All right. When you say swinging punches, did they connect with anybody?
No, they were slow punches.
Slow punches? Were they thrown at you?
Yes,
Okay. And when you say slow punches, you were able to outmaneuver them?
yes,
Were you able to outdistance them?
yes.
Were they sloppy? Were they
Sluggish, yeah.
sluggish? Okay. You said your hat was hit off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Do you recall where that happened?
After I got pushed down.
Near the gate, near Franklin Avenue.
A little bit farther, like in that sequence of events, it'd
see.
be after.
Okay. So let's go back to where you said you had made some distance. You were down to the corner of that parking lot area
Yeah.
when you looked for Shay. Is that right?
Yes, but I would, if I could see a map, I could tell you more specifically, but
Okay.
in what I can remember, yeah.
All right, and we'll bring that up in a little bit and have you identify where you were. I just want to get kind of the full story here. When you were looking around for Shay, were you still on that sidewalk
Yes.
that runs right across Mountain View Hall?
Yeah.
And where was Shay when you looked for him?
I don't know.
You couldn't see him?
Couldn't see him.
Did you see where the defendant was?
No.
Excuse me. And at that point, as you indicated earlier, was the group thinned out or scattered across that area?
Yes.
Was there any other physical confrontation up to that point that you noticed?
Not that I noticed.
Anybody saying they're going to kill anybody up to that point?
No.
And the words being exchanged, it sounds like, were questions. Where are you from? What are you doing
Yes.
here? Anything else that you recall?
No.
What's the next thing that you remember after you got to that point?
At that point, the next thing I remember is seeing Steven come up from the parking lot next to that walkway next to Mountain View, and he had a light from what I saw, and I didn't know what it was, but he was yelling something, and I don't remember what that was. Couldn't be made out.
All right, let me break that down a little bit. Sorry about that. When you saw the defendant, where was he?
Standing in the parking lot.
And do you recall, is there a landscaping section that separates the parking lot from the sidewalk?
Yeah, it's like stone, or
And he was
Gravel.
in the actual parking lot at that point?
yes.
You mentioned a light. Did you know what it was at the time?
At the time, no, but it didn't take long to figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe this light, if you could.
It was bright. And do you mean like what about the light?
Well, let me ask you, what was the intensity? I mean, were there lights around in the parking lot?
No. Well, like
Like street lights?
street lights, yeah.
Okay. In relation to those lights, how was the brightness of this light?
Brighter.
What did it appear to be, like an LED type light?
Yes.
Where was it pointed, if you remember?
At first it was give me a second. think it was pointed down at first at the ground, and then I saw it like sweeping across, I guess you could say.
What do you mean by that?
Moving, just like,
Was it illuminating people?
yes.
And was it at that point or before that point or after that point that the defendant said something that you can't recall today?
It was at that point, I think.
As it's illuminating people?
Yes.
And you don't remember what he said?
No.
Did you know at that point that he had a gun in his hand?
When I took a like closer look at his stance and like how he was holding the light, I figured it out, yeah.
But did you see the gun in his hands?
No.
Just by his stance, that it appeared that he was holding
He
a gun?
had 2 hands on it and 1 foot forward.
Okay. What happened after that?
After that, I saw people move towards Stephen, and then shots were fired.
Describe moving forward. What did that look like?
I think there were 2, maybe 3 people, and they rushed towards him.
Rush meaning ran at him or what?
I wouldn't say ran, no.
What would you say?
Moved quickly.
Just their feet?
Yeah,
Did you see anything with their hands?
no,
Did they have anything in their hands? Do you
No.
recall?
nothing.
Did they say anything to the defendant?
I couldn't hear.
What happened after that?
After that, there were a bunch of shots, and then at that point, I kind of went into a bit of a shock, and I don't remember how many shots initially were fired, but I saw people fall on the ground, and then the light came like panned over me, I guess, and I put my hands up and I was like, it's me, Jacob. And at that point, Stephen told me to call the police, and I pulled my phone out and I did. And from there, I remember talking to them and telling them
Well,
that,
let me stop right there. We're not going to get into what the conversation was, but let me back it up a little bit, because you said that some people, maybe 2 or 3 people, were rushing at the defendant, nothing in their hands that you could see. They weren't saying anything. Were these the same sluggish people that you had interacted with earlier?
I don't know if it was me that interacted with them, but yes, they were the same people.
Part of the same group?
Yes.
Okay. Did you recognize anything about them that stands out to you today? Anything they were wearing, what they looked like?
There was the one of the victims that I was actually with when the police showed up was wearing a white shirt, and that's all I can remember.
Okay. You said you saw people fall. How many people?
From the best of my memory, 3, I think.
When you saw the defendant, when you noticed that the defendant had a gun in his hands, were you thinking, this is great, now we're going to get away from here?
No,
What were you thinking?
I was scared.
Of who?
Stephen, the situation.
Before that point, did you feel like these guys were going to really hurt you?
I thought it was a hostile situation, but there was no point where I thought I was in any situation where my life was at stake, no.
Were you mentioned that your hat had fallen off. Why were you still in that area if these guys were slow and you could outdistance them?
Well, besides I wanted to know where Shay was, I actually wanted to retrieve my hat as well.
Did you feel that you could have outdistanced these guys if you wanted to? Gotten
Yes.
away from that area?
Absolutely.
All right, so you mentioned you see a couple people fall, 2 or 3, I think is what you said. You made a phone call to the police. And I think that was the last part you talked about. What happened after that you recall?
After the phone call,
Yes.
okay, let me gather my thoughts here.
Take your time.
I was calling, and the situation kind of changed, and I don't know where the gun went, but someone was choking Steven, and he was saying something, and I tried to pull him off, and after that I told him, like, we have to help your friend, like, what are you doing? And we did that, and we were both, all three of us were kneeled next to one of the victims.
Okay, let me break that down a little bit. You said somebody was choking the defendant.
Yeah.
Describe that.
A rear naked choke just behind him with his arm around his neck.
Okay. Not hands on his neck, but an arm.
Yeah,
And was it one person?
just one.
At any point, did you ever see a group of people piling on the defendant?
No,
Was this one person the only time you saw someone interacting with the defendant physically besides that punch from earlier?
yes.
Let me back one. I forgot to ask you, how far away were you when you saw the defendant with this gun initially?
Feet, maybe.
Same distance away from the people that were shot?
Yeah.
Okay. So what perspective did you have? Was it lateral of the defendant, straight on? How could you see?
I saw it was kind of at an angle. Yeah. If he was looking directly at them, I was at like a triangular point opposite of that.
Okay. All right. And you said you managed to get this guy off the defendant.
Yeah.
Did it take much effort to do that?
No.
And were you talking to him when you said, let's help your friend?
Yes.
Did you know who this person was?
No.
Was he part of that group that you had initially confronted?
I don't know.
And then you mentioned earlier that the three of you were by one of the victims. Who were the three of you?
That person that I don't know.
Okay.
Me and Steven.
And what was going on at that point?
We were trying to put pressure on the gunshot wound and take his vitals, and they were kind of arguing. And,
Who was arguing?
Steven and
This other kid?
this other guy.
Okay. When you said you were putting pressure on the wound and taking vitals, did you have any medical training at that point?
No.
What did you observe about the person who was shot? Go ahead, sorry.
He had a white shirt, and so there was a large blood stain, and we were putting pressure there, and I put my finger under his nose to see if he was breathing, and I asked if they knew CPR, the other guy, and he didn't, but there was another girl there helping one of the other victims, and she also said to put pressure on the wound, so
Okay.
yeah.
Do you recall at some point after this, were there additional gunshots?
I don't remember.
Okay.
After
After this interaction?
this interaction, no, there weren't any after that.
After the first gunshots and you saw the three people fall, did you hear any or see any other gunshots after that?
At that point, I was, I don't know, in shock, but I can't tell you how many gunshots or if there was more than one, like, volley, I guess.
Okay. Do you recall how many gunshots were fired that first time?
I can't say for sure.
Could you tell how many wounds this person with the white shirt had at the time?
I think it was just the one in the chest.
You said there was another victim lying down. Where was that person?
Also in that gravel section between the parking lot and the cement sidewalk.
At any point, did you go over to him and see what was going on with him?
No, that's the other girl that was there was by his side.
Do you know who that girl was?
No,
Okay. Did you see where Shay was during any of this?
no.
All right. What happened after you were attending to the victim with the white shirt?
I lost track of Steven, and it was just me and that other guy there. And we stayed there until the police showed up.
Okay. With the victim?
Yeah.
And what happened when the police showed up?
We were arrested. They
When
they
you say-
took us a little,
Sorry, when you say arrested, what do you mean?
just handcuffed and walked away.
Okay. Sorry, I cut you off there. Go
Don't
ahead.
worry. And then they were just trying to figure out what was going on. So once they took us away, paramedics did whatever they could, and they tried to figure out what was going on. So they asked us a few questions.
All right. And we're not going to get into the conversation you had, but were you separated from other witnesses while you were talking to the police?
Yes.
All right. And at a later point, did you actually go to the police station and speak to the police?
Yes, that night.
Do you recall what you were wearing that night?
It was a blue hoodie. Blue and white shoes, and I don't remember what pants.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 140.
Yes,
Do you recognize that photo?
I do.
Is that you and the clothes you were wearing that night?
That is.
Move to admit 140, Judge.
Can I see it, please? The objection?
No objection.
40 is admitted.
Let me just publish to the jury Exhibit 140. Is that you, Jacob?
Yes, that's me.
And that's the blue hoodie you referred to earlier?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Besides the victim with the white shirt, do you recall what anyone else was wearing at the time?
No.
How many people would you estimate were at that scene when the defendant fired those shots initially?
It was the same thinned out group, but I would say I can't tell you a number, but maybe I don't know. I don't know how many exactly.
More than one?
Yeah,
Less than 10?
yeah.
Or you're saying 5? What were you
5
getting?
to 7, just like earlier.
Okay. Did the 5 to 7, does that include yourself and the defendant?
No.
So 5 to 7 other folks that were in that proximate area?
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier it was thinned out at this point, so there was no cluster in that corner of the parking lot?
Yes.
Did you see where the gun went after the shots?
Yeah. I don't know how it got there, but I remember looking back when we were attending to the victim, and it was under a tree in the corner of the parking lot.
Okay. Had you seen the defendant with a gun earlier that night?
No.
Was there any way he was carrying it that you didn't recognize earlier that night?
I don't think so. He was wearing pants, shirt tucked in. I don't know how he could have concealed it.
Okay. And approximate for the jury how long it was from the time you lost track of the defendant, initially from that street, to the time you saw him again with the gun.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, give a time frame for the last time you saw the defendant after that initial confrontation in the street to the time he showed up with the gun. How much time passed?
That's difficult. It could have been a minute to a couple minutes. I was pretty amped up on adrenaline, and that definitely changed my perception of how time was moving.
Sure. But from that initial point to the point you saw him again in the parking lot, you hadn't seen him between that time? Jacob, I talked about showing you some images from before. Let me show you Exhibit 316 that's been admitted. Do you have a laser pointer up there?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to use that at different points, okay? All right, do you see 316 on the screen?
316?
Well, this is the exhibit 316. Do you see what we're looking at here?
Yes,
All right, do you recognize this?
I do.
What are we looking at?
Franklin, it's the street where it happened.
So, which direction are we looking now?
North, I think, towards Courtyard.
All right. And did you travel this road to get to the Grove?
Yes.
Which direction?
That direction, straight?
So we're looking the direction you traveled to get to the Grove?
Yes.
And again, you mentioned that you had walked there, right?
Yes.
Do you recall from this view, well, let me go to a different view here. Do you recall from this view where you guys were standing when you knocked on the door?
Yes.
Where?
Right here?
Do you recall what door you knocked on?
I don't.
And just for the record, you're gesturing or pointing at these two doors right on Franklin, right?
Yes.
And at the end of the courtyard complex. All right, so if you could show the jury where you were approximately when you had this initial confrontation in the street.
Around here?
All right, not quite across the street in the middle there?
Yeah, in the middle.
Let's jump to a different view. Where did you go after that when you saw the defendant get punched, and where did you go?
From here to here?
And you're gesturing to that sidewalk area in front of Mountain View?
Yes.
Do you recall where you were pushed?
This is the gate I was talking about, just a ways inward, so right here-ish.
Just inside the gate?
Yeah.
Did you ever see anybody running into the parking lot?
Running into the parking lot?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Let me show you a different view. Do you recognize what we're looking at here?
Yes.
What is it?
Steven's car.
Is this where the defendant parked his car when you guys walked to the Grove?
Yes.
From this view, can you tell us where you went after being pushed to the ground?
I followed this path, that sidewalk.
And the sidewalk right in front of Mountain View dorm?
Yes.
Okay. When you said that people were thinned out, describe where you recall seeing people along that sidewalk.
This is around where I was over here, and they were across like this area. From what I could tell from over there.
Okay. Maybe we can get a better shot. So can you tell from this perspective where you were standing when you stopped to look for Shay?
About right here.
So still
Not quite at the edge of the parking lot, but
okay. And where were you when you saw the defendant showing up with the gun?
is there any chance you could turn it a little bit, never mind, the other way?
This way? You want
It's just a little hard to tell the distance between the edge of here and the edge of this, because I was somewhere within here.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just do your best to describe that. I know we only have certain perspectives, so.
I was about right here.
All right, just about to the corner of the parking lot, still on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Where was the defendant when he showed up with the gun?
Right here.
And where were the people that you saw, or that you testified, rushed to him?
Up here.
Still on the sidewalk?
When they were moving toward him, they were going through this gravel area.
All right. What would you estimate the distance was between the defendant and these people before the shots rang out?
I can't say for sure, but 4 feet maybe. No, more than that. 5 feet. I don't know.
Okay. And we're just looking for your best memory today, Jacob, okay?
All right.
Where was the victim with the white shirt that you indicated you tried to help afterwards?
Right here.
You indicated earlier that there was somebody with his arm around the defendant trying to choke him. Where
Yes.
was that? Where did that happen?
Just in front of that, on the sidewalk. Right. I mean, in the parking lot.
Still inside the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. After those initial shots, did you see where those other people had gone?
The other people.
Yeah, you indicated there were other people along the sidewalk. Did you see where those
No,
people
I
went?
didn't see where they went.
I'm going to show you one more exhibit, Jacob. This is exhibit 353 that's been admitted. Do you recognize what we're looking at here?
Yes.
What is it?
The scene of the event.
Okay. And I'm going to play it, and you indicate, I'm going to stop it here in a little bit, but indicate where you, if you can see yourself.
All right.
Are you part of this scene?
Yes.
Where?
Right here.
Right where the light's shining?
Yes.
And this is about 17 seconds in on 353. Do you see that person that you indicated was choking the defendant and then later trying to help the victim?
Yes.
Where?
I think this is him right here.
Okay. Do you know who, and this is the guy on his stomach now?
Yes.
Who's this person here with this white shirt over on the left side of the frame?
I don't know.
Do you recall seeing him earlier?
Yes, but I don't remember what they were wearing.
Okay. And then this person on his back, his knees up, and it looks like a young woman here in the bottom of the frame. Do you know what's going on here?
I knew she was trying to help him, but other than that, I don't know her name or what
Okay.
she was doing there.
Was this the other person you were talking about that had
Yes.
fallen? All right, thank you. You have a moment, Judge?
Sure.
All right, that's all I have, Jacob. Thank you.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and stand at recess for lunch. We'll get back together at 1:30. Please remember the admonition.
You have a moment, Judge?
Sure.
All right, that's all I have, Jacob. Thank you.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and stand at recess for lunch. We'll get back together at 1:30. Please remember the admonition.